Alan Jackson, the man with the deep, warm voice, the signature white cowboy hat, and a genuine Southern heart, has long captivated millions of fans through his music. But that's not all. He built an entire empire, from legendary recordings to sold-out concert tours, along with a vast fortune stretching across Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. With an estimated net worth of nearly 200 million USD, over 75 million records sold worldwide, and dozens of prestigious awards to his name, Alan Jackson stands as one of the most successful country artists of all time. Today, in his later years, he resides on a Tennessee estate worth about 19 million USD, surrounded by more than 120 acres of lush green land, complete with a collection of vintage cars, yachts, and vacation homes scattered throughout the American South. Beyond his wealth and fame, the public also admires him for his enduring marriage to Denise, his one and only wife, who has stood by him for more than 4 decades, from their humble beginnings to the moment he became a country music legend. Yet behind that flawless image lies a different side of Alan Jackson. He has often been seen in the company of young, beautiful women, and his once peaceful Franklin Ranch quietly turned into a secret rendezvous spot, the very place where cracks in his long-standing marriage began to appear. So what is really happening behind those half-closed doors? And is the life of this country legend truly as calm as it seems? Before America came to know him as a symbol of Southern music, Alan Eugene Jackson was just a fair-haired boy growing up in the small town of Noonan, Georgia, a place where sunsets lingered over old wooden porches and the evening wind carried the sound of church bells every Sunday. His father, Gene, was a kind-hearted mechanic, while his mother, Ruth, would hum hymns as she cooked breakfast. It was those simple melodies that planted in Alan his first love for music, as honest and earthy as the red Southern soil he would carry with him for life. Alan's childhood knew nothing of stage lights, only an old radio that played Hank Williams's voice, and a small dream of one day singing for his hometown. After graduating, he took on odd jobs, construction work, paper delivery, yet still spent his nights writing songs in a cramped rented room where his old guitar remained his most treasured possession. Then, in 1983, Alan left Georgia, leaving behind the red dust, the cotton fields, and the summer rains, to head for Nashville with his young wife, Denise. They had nothing but faith and a fragile dream called music. A friend once told him, "If you don't try now, you might regret it for the rest of your life." Perhaps it was that single sentence that ignited a journey that would one day change American music forever. Just a few years later, Nashville truly began to hear his voice. From anonymous demo tapes, Alan became the first artist ever signed to Arista Nashville, opening a new era for traditional country music. His story, simple, sincere, and unwavering, became living proof that authenticity can still shine in a world obsessed with glamour and fame. Released in 1990, Here in the Real World transformed Alan Jackson from an unfamiliar name into one of America's brightest stars. Songs like Wanted Chasin', That Neon Rainbow, and I'd Love You All Over Again echoed across the South, carrying listeners back to the golden era of the 1960s, classic, warm, and deeply touching, yet resonating with a whole new generation. A year later, Don't Rock the Jukebox 1991 exploded, achieving quadruple platinum certification. Then came A Lot About Livin' and a Little Bout Love 1992, which went 6 times platinum and featured the legendary hit Chattahoochee, an anthem of Southern youth, where sunshine, rivers, and freedom blend into one. From that moment, Alan was no longer just a singer, he had become the embodiment of an entire way of life. By the mid-1990s, Alan Jackson was the very soul of Nashville. Albums like Who I Am, 1994, Everything I Love, 1996, and High Mileage, 1998 shattered sales records, placing him among the pillars of modern country music. While many of his peers rushed toward electronic sounds and dazzling stage lights, Alan stood firm with the steel guitar, his cowboy hat, and his love for traditional honky-tonk. He never needed theatrics, just a small stage, a tight band, and a song sung from the heart, and the audience would fall silent, completely captivated. As the new century began, he wrote a song forever etched into history, Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, composed in the aftermath of the 9/11 tragedy. There was no drama, no declaration, just the heartfelt question of an ordinary American. Yet that sincerity brought millions to tears. The song earned him a Grammy Award in 2002 and turned Alan Jackson into the voice of a grieving nation. In the years that followed, he continued his reign with Drive What I Do, Good Time and Freight Train, along with the beloved duet. It's 5 o'clock somewhere with Jimmy Buffett, a gentle reminder of the joy in slowing down. From 2012 to today, even past the age of 60, Alan's fire still burns bright. His album, Where Have You Gone, stands as a confession from a man who has seen every peak and now looks back with calm contentment. His voice has grown deeper, warmer, carrying the wistful soul of someone who has watched music evolve yet never let go of the Southern spirit that defines him. The exhibition Alan Jackson, 25 years of keeping it country at the Country Music Hall of Fame, stands as one of the most meaningful milestones of his career, showcasing everything from the old pickup truck that once carried him to Nashville to his first wooden guitar still marked with the scratches of time. And when he stood center stage at Forever Country in 2016, performing alongside 30 other great artists, the audience realized they weren't just listening to a singer, they were witnessing the living spirit of America resonate through music. More than 40 years have passed, yet the love that fans have for Alan Jackson has never faded. They don't come for the fame or the spectacle, they come for the authenticity that radiates from him. The man in the white cowboy hat holding his old guitar, smiling gently, before singing the melodies that have become the memories of a nation. Beyond his talent and legendary career, Alan Jackson has also earned the admiration of Nashville for something rare in the entertainment world: fidelity. For over 4 decades, the only woman ever seen by his side has been Denise, the blonde-haired girl who once waited for him outside a small wooden house in Georgia. The woman who left their hometown with him in an old pickup truck carrying a dream that didn't even have a name yet. When Nashville was still a distant dream and his demo tapes were constantly rejected, Denise was the only one who believed her husband would make it. And many years later, when the stage lights burned bright and applause filled arenas across America, Alan still kept an old habit. Every time he stepped through their front door, he'd remove his cowboy hat, set down his guitar, and softly call his wife's name, as if after all those years he had never truly been away. Their love was never loud or ostentatious, but it endured steady and quiet like the southern air. They weathered every hardship together, from the early years of struggle to the height of fame, and those very storms only drew them closer. Now in his 60s, they are still often seen side by side at award shows, at charity concerts, or on quiet mornings on their porch sharing a cup of coffee as sunlight spills gently through the window. There are no grand declarations, no need for showmanship. Just two people, two hearts, and a promise kept faithfully for nearly half a century. The promise that no matter how far fame might take him when he comes home, Denise will always be the one waiting. Their marriage stands as a rare symbol of devotion in the glittering world of Nashville. Together they raised 3 daughters, Maddie Alexandra and Danny Grace, all brought up in the warmth and simplicity that their parents have always cherished. Alan once said, "All the awards and fame in the world mean nothing compared to being the father of those three girls." During holidays, the entire family often gathers at their Franklin estate, where Alan's guitar melodies blend with the laughter of children. Under the golden Tennessee sunset, Alan and Denise sitting hand in hand on their wooden porch watching their grandchildren play is more than just a picture of happiness. It is proof of a love that has endured for half a century, still warm, still peaceful, and still as real as the day it began. Yet even the most eternal-looking love stories can crack. For a time, Alan and Denise's marriage reached a breaking point, leading to a long and painful separation. That was the moment when Alan Jackson entered the busiest chapter of his life. Hundreds of performances, cross-country tours, and endless nights in unfamiliar hotel rooms where music roared before the crowd, but silence lingered behind the curtains. Denise, the woman who had once stood beside him through every hardship, now saw her husband only through a television screen. They still loved each other, yet the distance between them grew wider, not measured in miles, but in the quiet nights when they no longer came home together. Then a new name began to circulate, a young rising female singer who had joined Alan's tour. She was beautiful, energetic, and often seen near him. Some staff members even claimed that Alan personally chose her to open his Dallas concert, despite her name never appearing on the official lineup. Soon after the headlines hit Alan Jackson and Denise separate. For the American public, it was a shock. For 2 decades, they had been a symbol of lasting love, the couple who rose from a tiny Nashville apartment to a multi-million-dollar mansion in Franklin. When the news broke, all of Nashville seemed to hold its breath. In the following days, the press went into a frenzy. A close source revealed that Denise had taken their 2 daughters and left home, while Alan continued performing night after night, his voice lower, his eyes dimmed by sleeplessness. Then, in an interview with ABC's 2020, he openly admitted, "I made mistakes. I let the lights and the work carry me too far. So far that I forgot what really mattered." Close friends confirmed that Alan had indeed been involved in a brief affair with a young singer during his 1997 tour, something he would later acknowledge himself. Denise wrote in her memoir, "It's all about him." That moment broke me, but it also taught us how to love each other again from the beginning. After the scandal, Alan virtually disappeared from Nashville for several months. He no longer attended parties or recording sessions. People said that on many nights the light in his Franklin music room would stay on where Alan sat alone with his guitar playing and rewriting the same unfinished sad melody. Friends described that time as him living between repentance and hope, afraid of losing what he loved, yet yearning to be forgiven. And it was in those lonely nights that Remember When was born. No theatrics, no embellishment, just the heartfelt confession of a man reflecting on the years gone by, the mistakes made, and the love that remained. When the song was first performed, Nashville fell completely silent. No one needed confirmation anymore, because in every lyric they heard the truth, the regret and gratitude of a man who had lost his way, but somehow found the road back home. Almost a year later, Alan and Denise reconciled, not because they forgot the past, but because they learned how to move forward with it. Denise forgave him not with words, but with silence. Their love was no longer loud, but it became deeper, quieter, and more real than ever. From then on, they turned away from Hollywood and returned to the peaceful land of Franklin, where the sound of wind through the trees blended with the southern air, and every morning began with the scent of dew-covered grass. On their 120-acre property valued at around 19 million USD, birch trees cast their reflections over a still pond while the breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass and damp earth after rain. From the main gate, a winding stone path leads to a grand Southern-style home black roof. Ivory walls, a wide porch, and sturdy round columns. Every detail mirrors its owner's character, simple yet refined, strong but never showy. Inside, sunlight pours through the tall windows, casting a soft glow on the guitar by the pane, the very spot where Alan still sits each morning, sipping his coffee and jotting down a few lines of melody. Life on Alan Jackson's farm bears none of the extravagance one might expect from a millionaire, even though his fortune now exceeds 150 million USD. He still drives his old Ford pickup around the stables, stops by the barn to check on the equipment, and takes leisurely walks with his golden retriever along the pond. For him, these are not mere routines. They are a way of staying close to the land, to his roots. Behind the main house lies a garden filled with roses and herbs tended by Denise, while Alan himself plants a few rows of tomatoes, peppers, and apple trees. In spring, peach blossoms tint the hills pink. In autumn, maple leaves blanket the pathways in gold. In the late afternoons, he often sits on the porch, softly singing an unfinished tune for Denise, letting the Tennessee sunset fade quietly into peace. In recent years, as his health has declined, Alan rarely leaves the property. Part of the ground floor has been converted into a small recording studio, a place where he records simple demos, just his voice and guitar. Friends say that from time to time he still sends them new songs with his familiar note, "Just something I wrote this morning." At night, the warm glow of the kitchen spills through the window where Denise still cooks Southern comfort food: fried chicken, cornbread, mashed potatoes. When their daughters and grandchildren visit, laughter fills the rolling fields again. Alan often holds the youngest grandchild in his arms, gently placing the child's tiny fingers on the guitar strings and whispering, "That's how I learned too, just with my ears and my heart." In those moments, time seems to slow down. In his twilight years, Alan Jackson no longer seeks applause, only the last light of day, the sound of his old wooden guitar, and the woman still sitting beside him on the porch where it all began. But Tennessee, that land of soft winds and whispered secrets, still hides haunting mysteries that refuse to fade. Locals around Franklin say that on certain nights, they see the warm yellow light still glowing from Alan Jackson's studio window deep into the night, sometimes until dawn. The light is soft, unmoving, as if holding on to something within the darkness. And if one listens closely, the breeze occasionally carries the faint sound of a guitar intertwined with laughter. Gentle, intimate, far too personal to be just work. One early summer night, a strange red car was spotted at the southern gate, an entrance usually reserved for family. The car stopped around 3 in the morning, then vanished before sunrise. The next day, tire tracks were still visible on the damp ground leading toward the guest house behind the lake where Alan keeps his private studio. When asked, the caretaker gave a vague reply. "Many people come here to record. I can't remember them all. But those who live nearby know one thing: since that studio opened, almost no one has ever been allowed inside except its owner." From there, the whispers began to spread. People said there was a young woman, small in stature with chestnut hair, who often appeared at the ranch after dark and left before dawn. No one knew who she was, a new singer, a sound technician, or simply a friend. But everyone noticed one thing: whenever she came, the studio lights stayed on until late into the night. One farmhand recalled that a few times he heard a woman's laughter drifting through the darkness, mingling with the faint, unfinished strumming of a guitar. But when he went to check, the room was empty. only a chair left slightly turned and the guitar still warm to the touch. Then one morning, a blurry photo surfaced online taken from afar through a misty fence. Two figures sat close together on the porch steps, a golden light shining from the room behind them, clearly illuminating Alan's silver hair. But the woman beside him was not Denise. Though the picture vanished within hours, it was enough to send shockwaves through Franklin. Denise remained silent. She offered no denial, no statement, no explanation. Locals still saw her walking around the lake each morning, slow steps, distant eyes. Some said she would occasionally stop by the guest house, gaze toward the half-closed door, then quietly turn away without a word. Perhaps after all those years, she understood that love doesn't always end because of betrayal. Sometimes it fades because of the silences no one knows how to fill. Alan, meanwhile, continued to appear before the public with his familiar calm demeanor, the gentle smile, the steady gaze. Yet there was something different in the way he sang, "Remember when now," something that made audiences weep even more. His voice no longer sounded like a mere apology, but a confession. No one knew what exactly he was confessing, yet everyone could feel the ache beneath his words, a quiet remorse that could not be named. Beyond his Franklin ranch, Alan Jackson has always kept a few peaceful havens, each one representing a different chapter of his life. In Lake Burton, Georgia, he once owned a stunning 7,600 square foot lakeside mansion surrounded by mountains and crystal waters. The home featured a two-story boathouse, an outdoor fire pit, a game room, and large windows that opened onto breathtaking sunsets reflected on the lake, where Alan often sat with his wooden guitar, letting the wind carry away melodies that had yet to find words. Built in 2008, the mansion was later sold for over $6 million USD, a price that stunned many, though for Alan, it was simply the closing of a beautiful chapter. In 2024, he quietly purchased another home, a 6,300 square foot estate in Westmead, Nashville, known as the oasis of country music legends. The property includes 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, a private office, a luxurious chef's kitchen, and a wide veranda with an outdoor fireplace. Unlike the opulence typical of celebrity homes, this one exudes tranquility, refinement, and warmth, much like its owner. At 66, Alan Jackson seems to have finally found what he had always been searching for: a space quiet enough to hear himself again, yet vast enough to hold the memories of a life spent under the stage lights. Beyond his homes, Alan Jackson also owns a world of his own, a vintage car collection worth over $5 million USD, curated over 4 decades as a way of preserving the milestones of his life. The first, and perhaps the one he treasures most, is a 1957 Ford Thunderbird, a dazzling symbol of 1950s American style. Only about 21,000 were ever produced, and very few remain in original condition today. Its metallic red body still gleams after more than half a century. The leather seats are as supple as new, and on the front hood, the silver-winged bird emblem shines under the garage lights. Alan bought it after his debut album went platinum, a small gift to himself for making it that far. Next to it sits a 1968 Shelby GT500 KR, the machine car lovers call King of the Road, and not without reason. Only 571 were ever made, making it a collector's treasure. With its 428 cubic inch V8 engine generating over 335 horsepower, it stands as a proud relic of America's muscle car era. Alan bought it in the late 1990s when his career was at its peak. Whenever he has free time, he drives the Shelby out of the ranch, cruising along Tennessee's winding country roads, letting the roar of the engine blend with the sound of the open fields. He often jokes, "When I'm not singing, I let the engine sing for me." In the corner of the garage rests a 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, A car that recalls post-war America, a time when people began to believe in the future again. Its two-tone blue and white body chrome fins and round headlights have all been meticulously restored to their original form. Alan once shared that this was the very model his father had always dreamed of owning but could never afford. After achieving success, Alan sought out the exact year and had it lovingly restored as a tribute to the man who taught him the value of hard work and patience. Few people know that the Bel Air's license plate bears his father's birth date, a quiet detail he has never publicly revealed. Not far from it sits a 1969 Dodge Charger, the legendary muscle car powered by the iconic 426 Hemi engine once hailed as the Iron Heart of America. Alan doesn't treat it as a display piece. He personally wipes off the dust, changes the oil, and checks the engine whenever he has free time. A car only truly lives when you touch it, he once said. And when the ignition roars to life, the sound is deep, rich, and warm, like the bass notes in the songs he writes. His collection also includes a 1955 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, a 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner, and a Chevy Impala SS, all restored with painstaking precision, preserving every classic contour. Each car has a small engraved plaque noting the year it was purchased, the reason he chose it, and a lyric excerpt from one of his songs. Part of the collection was once exhibited at Alan Jackson Precious Memories in Nashville, where fans could admire the steel legacy of the country legend. On opening day, Alan appeared simply dressed, white cowboy hat hands tucked in his jeans pockets, and quietly said, "These cars aren't just possessions. They're stories about an America built by hand and pride." Sometimes on quiet weekend mornings, Franklin locals still spot a familiar sight, a dark blue Shelby slowly rolling along the tree-lined roads. Behind the wheel is Alan Jackson, wearing sunglasses and his cowboy hat, one hand resting lightly on the steering wheel. No entourage, no paparazzi, only the growl of the engine blending with the countryside birdsong as the artist enjoys his own private melody. Beyond his passion for vintage cars, Alan Jackson also owns a fortune that commands the respect of all Nashville, built not only on fame but on decades of relentless work and devotion to music. With over 75 million records sold worldwide, Alan Jackson ranks among the 10 most successful country artists of all time. His albums have captivated audiences not only in the United States, but also across Europe, Australia, and Japan, a rare feat for a genre so deeply rooted in American soul. According to Billboard box score estimates, revenue from his 21 studio albums alone has surpassed $200 million USD. What sets Alan apart isn't just his talent, it's the way he's turned his music into the foundation of a lasting empire. Beyond record sales, he has built wealth through touring, songwriting royalties, real estate investments, and brand collaborations, all managed quietly yet effectively. Over 4 decades, Alan Jackson has performed in more than 1,500 shows across North America, Europe, and Asia. Each of his tours has been an event, not just concerts, but gatherings where audiences reconnect with a living legend. His Cowboy Rides Away tour brought in nearly $100 million USD, making it one of the most successful country tours of the 2010s. Though he doesn't perform as frequently as younger stars, every one of his shows sells out, especially in the southern states, where he's seen as part of the region's collective memory. On stage, he avoids theatrics, sharing a few personal stories, then letting the music speak for itself. Polestar once wrote, "Alan Jackson is one of the few artists who can fill an entire stadium with nothing but a guitar and his voice." More than a singer, Alan is also an accomplished songwriter. He has written over 150 songs, both for himself and for other artists, generating millions in royalties each year. Tracks like Remember When Where Were You, Chattahoochee and Livin' on Love continue to play daily on hundreds of American radio stations. In the early 1990s, he founded his own publishing company, AJ's Music, to retain control of his catalog, a move that allowed him to keep both profits and creative freedom, regardless of the shifting tides of the music industry. When the digital era exploded, Alan chose his own path to adapt. Instead of chasing TikTok trends or viral hits, he quietly released his entire catalog on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. The result, decades-old classics continue to draw tens of millions of streams each year, earning between 3 and 5 million USD in digital revenue. His album Where Have You Gone 2021 sold over 200,000 physical copies, proof that an authentic voice still has a place in a virtual world. In his commercial ventures, Alan has always partnered only with brands that share his Southern spirit. Cracker Barrel. The country-style restaurant chain once launched the Alan Jackson Collection, a line of CDs, shirts, cowboy hats, and souvenirs that sold out within its first year. Another notable partnership was with Ford Motor Company, a brand deeply tied to America's working-class heritage. In a Ford F-150 commercial, Alan didn't play the role of a celebrity, just a humble man standing in a Tennessee field speaking about the strength of perseverance. The image moved an entire nation, genuine, steadfast, and unmistakably Alan Jackson. According to Celebrity Net Worth and Forbes Country, Alan Jackson's fortune now exceeds 150 million USD, the majority coming from music royalties and long-term investments. But when asked about it, Alan only smiled gently and said, "I've never thought much about money. I just think about the next song." Perhaps it is that calm simplicity that has kept him steady in a world of glitter and speed, a world where most rush forward while he moves slowly, but always far. Though he is one of the wealthiest artists in Nashville, Alan Jackson has never let money define his path. For him, music exists to be shared, and if it brings fortune, then part of that fortune should be given back to life. That generosity traces back to his humble childhood in the small town of Newnan, Georgia. Alan once shared that his family didn't have much, but they always gave what they could. His mother Ruth often cooked extra meals for lonely neighbors or brought old blankets to the nearby children's home. "I grew up in a house where helping others was natural. I guess it's in my blood," he said once. So when success came, his first instinct wasn't to spend lavishly, but to help others. In the late 1990s, when Nashville was hit by a devastating flood, Alan and his wife Denise quietly donated more than $500,000 to the Red Cross Flood Relief Fund, helping hundreds of families rebuild their homes. In the years that followed, he became a devoted supporter of ACM Lifting Lives, the charitable arm of the Academy of Country Music, which assists musicians facing financial or health hardships. Whenever a fellow artist fell ill or lost work, the initials AJ often appeared quietly on donation lists. He also contributed regularly to the Country Music Hall of Fame Foundation, which funds programs to educate young, aspiring musicians. In 2014, when the exhibition Alan Jackson, 25 Years of Keeping It Country was launched, he refused any licensing fee for his image and personally donated over $250,000 USD to build the Songwriters Corner, a classroom where students could learn to write record and understand the history of country music. "If we don't teach kids where we came from, they'll forget why we sing," he said during the opening ceremony, his voice slow but firm. For Alan, music and compassion have always gone hand in hand. When Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi were ravaged by tornadoes in 2010, he was among the first to organize a benefit concert. The one-night-only event at Bridgestone Arena drew over 15,000 attendees and raised 1.5 million USD for the Tennessee Disaster Relief Fund. Not long after, he joined the Nashville Rising campaign alongside Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, helping rebuild homes, schools, and bridges. Allen performed just 2 songs before quietly leaving the stage. One journalist wrote, "He walked out in a plain white shirt, sang slowly, then departed like a farmer after harvest." That same year, Allen and Denise founded the Jackson Family Foundation, dedicated to supporting rural communities, music scholarships, and children in need. From it came Allen's Song for Kids, a program that has provided opportunities for hundreds of young art students. He never used his fame to seek attention or fundraising. Everything was done quietly, effectively, and with deep humanity. Allen's compassion also shines through in the way he responds to national tragedies. After the events of 9/11, he wrote, "Where were you when the world stopped turning?" A song that didn't just move America, but became a timeless symbol of empathy and gratitude. All proceeds, more than 1.2 million USD from the single, were donated to funds supporting firefighters' families and victims in New York. He once said, "I didn't write that song to be famous. I wrote it because I hurt with them." Beyond charity, Allen has always been passionate about music education for children. He believes that music teaches people to listen and to dream. For many years, he has funded elementary schools across Tennessee, providing musical instruments, recording equipment, and summer scholarships. The donation ceremonies rarely have media coverage. Allen usually appears, quietly shares a few words about his modest childhood, and leaves before the event ends. Denise once said he doesn't like to talk about it. He just says, "If you can make someone smile today, that's enough." Yet even the strongest legends cannot escape the fragility of the human body. In 2021, Alan Jackson stunned fans when he revealed that he had been living with Charcot-Marie-Tooth syndrome, a rare hereditary nerve disorder that makes movement and balance increasingly difficult. "I'm not drunk," he said on the Today Show. "I just lose my balance sometimes. This disease makes me fight every day just to keep standing on that stage." Though his legs have grown weaker, Allen has never left music behind. During one Nashville concert, his voice trembled as he told the audience, "I won't be able to sing forever like I used to. But as long as I can still stand, I'll keep singing for you." The crowd rose in a standing ovation, and under the soft lights, he smiled a smile both proud and bittersweet. Now mornings in Franklin move at a gentler pace. Allen no longer travels from state to state, yet music still flows through him like a heartbeat. In every melody, listeners can hear more than just a voice. They can feel the serenity of a man who has weathered storms, seen through fame, and learned how to smile at the passing of time. When the last light fades over Franklin and the lake reflects only a sliver of moonlight like a thread of smoke, the story of Alan Jackson draws to a close, not with noise, but with the lingering ache of a country ballad. Behind the warm voice and the white cowboy hat lies a life of fractures, triumphs, and solitude. Once a symbol of loyalty, later the center of whispers, he has finally returned to the one thing that never betrayed him: music. Perhaps that is why Alan Jackson transcends the title of country star. He is the true soul of America, humble, steadfast, and forever mysterious. If you want to keep uncovering the untold secrets behind the gates of legendary country estates, where the lights fade and the rumors begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. And don't forget to leave a comment. Do you believe that behind Alan Jackson's studio door lies only music, or a secret never before revealed?